Hey y'all, so I'm working on a new piece of writing. It's probably going to be a short story. It might be a novella. I'm not really sure yet, but I wanted to get your thoughts on the intro. So I'm going to read you the first probably 6 paragraphs, and afterwards I would just love if you could let me know in the comments kind of first your general reactions to the piece, and also I'll add some questions at the end. Okay, but first let's dive in and listen. Midnight in the Villa Borghese gardens. The sun is dispersing itself aimlessly across the horizon of Rome as I make my way down the cobble-lined streets that stretch unevenly and seem to go on forever. Beside me are a series of incandescently lit shops and makeshift restaurants no bigger than storage units. Inside, ancient Italian nonnas with drooping faces tend to their duties, closing up for the day, readying themselves for rest. And then there's me, walking briskly past with eyes forward, propelling my body toward the one place I know I should not go. I am keeping a frenetic pace from piazza to piazza, passing tired tourists in my strident blur, bobbing and weaving through cirrus clouds of ashen-faced workers, all walking, biking, hustling, dragging themselves home, or to aperitivo, or to post-work drinks, or to the places we do not tell our spouses about when we are away for just a little bit too long. I round quickly past the Colosseum, practically skipping down Via degli Annibaldi, further and further to Via Sistina, nearly marching manically past my favorite grocer, mustering the courage to not stop in and buy an additional bottle of wine, which would play companion to the already secured Malbec under my arm. I move on past the sweet shop and the display of ripe pomegranates, melegranos, that sit seductively in a perfect pile like little grenades, waiting and wanting to explode. Soon I arrive at the end of Via Lazio, approaching the hunter-green darkness, the blood having long been sucked from the face of the now gray sky overhead. Before me are vines coiling like the thin-tipped fingers of a viola player, curling around a freshly rosined bow. The overarching twilight is engulfed by tree canopies overhead, and before me is the great wide, slack-jawed mouth that has swallowed me whole nearly every Friday night for the past year. It is the mouth of the Villa Borghese gardens, which by day is trampled upon under the weight of thrill-seeking tourists who take its photos silly and unthinking, not knowing of the fertile spirits that will roam this place when the moon ascends itself up into its rightful seat atop the sky throne, covered in the blanket of black, pinpricked by endless starlight. The gardens seem to yawn to life as I arrive, a strange sucking sound, wind sweeping down the esophageal path of its throat, the former stationary and bucolic restfulness upended by the formations of dark shapes just 50 or so yards away in the belly of this place. Deeper I go, past ever-flowing fountain pools, reflecting what little light survives this far inside the vast coverage. The fountains are like prying eyes, exhausted from watching, blinking themselves to sleep before the dream of what is to come, the dream that will take over the senses. The moon hangs high, standing guard. Pressing through the dark brambles, deep into the belly of the place, I make out my figure, my Jan, my Dutchman, who has waited for me with the stilled assuredness of a man who is used to never getting caught, a man who is not expected to explain where he was, out so late on a Friday night in the middle of July. We do not speak as I arrive, but rather I see a set of hands orienting themselves to my frame, and in the space between us, like a potter to his clay, I allow myself to be molded. Okay, so that is the opening to this story or novella. I'm not really sure how it's going to take shape, but I guess my main question, the thing I'm struggling with, is when I was in grad school, sometimes because I loved description and scenery, as you can tell from this piece, I sometimes overwrite sentences, or I focus maybe a little bit too much on the surrounding visuals that I maybe don't progress fast enough through the plot. And something I've been working on is kind of trying to keep a metronomic pace with my plotting. And so even though this is quite a long opening, not very much happens besides him just walking down this long cobblestone street into the mouth of these gardens where something's about to happen. But I guess my questions are, one, is it clear everything that's going on? If you didn't have a knowledge of this place or Italy, do you feel like you are given enough information to is it is it too, I don't know what the right word is it clear enough? Like, does it make sense, like what's happening? And also, if you have any like fun ideas for what you'd want to see happen next with this character. I have a draft that's like probably 20 pages. I've tried a few different plot lines. I can't tell if I want Jan to be like having an affair, or if I don't know if that's interesting enough though. This main character, our main POV, I'm still like learning him and learning his motivations, but I've always been just transfixed by Italy, and I love the Villa Borghese gardens. And when I lived in Rome, I used to like wander around them all the time during the day, and I always thought it'd be so interesting to place a story here. But yeah, so I guess I'm just kind of looking for general feedback. Do you think it's like, is it clear enough? Do you feel like you're placed well? Is it interesting? I guess, like, would you keep reading? Like, are you curious enough to know what happens next? Or do you feel like it's a little bit too bogged down with details? Would you want to know, would you want to get some like dialogue or like kind of concrete, like who this person is, what his name is? You know, it's kind of goes a little bit against the advice that I used to tell my writing students, and the advice that a lot of, fiction authors give, which is that we should know like the name, the place, the year, all these things right away. But I do feel like, within the first few paragraphs, you are definitely like location wise, oriented, because you're in Rome, that like the sun is setting, you know like geographically where you are, but this main character is still a mystery. And I guess, is that mystery strong enough to keep reading if we get like a lot of details very soon? I guess I'm not really formulating my questions very well, but anywho, just looking for general reactions, thoughts. Do you enjoy the writing? Do you think it's interesting? Is this a story you'd want to keep reading? And yeah, just let me know. I love you guys. Also, I don't like that my go-to is saying I love you guys, because that's very gendered, and it's just like how I was brought up to say that saying. So I'm gonna go into my Southern upbringing and say I love y'all, because it's all inclusive. So I love y'all.